and the skin looked beautiful. And the skin looked beautiful, no much. And the skin looked beautiful, no much. Oh my God. Welcome to today's video, you guys. Today we're taking a look at the new Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Serum Foundation. It's not that new. It's in store finally though, and that's kind of why I got it. So this came out a couple of months ago, I think, and when I went online to look at the colors, and I'm going to put those pictures here or here, probably here, I was looking around the light medium range and I found that the models they put up seemed darker than me and had a different undertone than me, even though it was a neutral. And that was the shade that I thought would work just by description. So I decided, you know, aren't we all over taking the rest of buying foundation online and not getting a color that works for us? And then it was in store. And I was in store maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, and an SA wanted to match me, but I didn't want to take off my makeup. So she gave me 2 samples, and the one that she gave me that I'm wearing right now is 6N, which is corresponding with the photos that I just put up. Before we get into all of it, let me just put in a couple of housekeeping things. One, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It really helps push my channel out there so that new people can find me, and I am here to be found. And I'm on Instagram. You can follow me at the_hooded_lid at Instagram. I'd love to see you there, and I'm loving to see you here right now. The light is going to be leaving very soon, so I have a lot to say. This is going to be my intro and my narration, so let's get into it. But one more thing before we get into it, you guys, you have to know about my skin, because my experience could very well be different than your experience. I am 59 years old, and my skin is on the drier side. It's not dry and flaky. It's not dry and tight, but it's no longer producing oils and ceramides and hyaluronic acid and elastin and collagen and all the things that keep your skin plump and high. I'm not producing so much anymore. So I put a lot of that stuff on my face, and I will post my AM program right here so you know how I'm prepping. I use a different sunscreen every day. I have a lot of sunscreens, and in the body of this video I will let you know what sunscreen I'm wearing on which day. We are going to try this on with fingers, with sponge, and with brush, with a different sunscreen every day. But it was really cloudy last week. I mean dark cloudy last week. So today's the first day we've had sun. This is my 3rd application. The other 2 days, the colors might look a little different. It might have a little bit of a whitish kind of thing going on because of the light outside. I depend largely on natural sunlight by keeping this door open to the back area. And then, because there's no door on this side, I put some lights over here just to kind of fill everything out. But when it's cloudy, it looks a little bit different. This is the final look for today, and this is the look of the color. And before we get into the ingredients, let's talk about the color. I just did some pre-swatches, you guys. This is the Danessa Myricks 6N. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin in 4N. And this is the Makeup Forever Reboot in Y315. So I want to just give you a very nice idea of what the colors are compared to other things that I own. I believe that this is lighter than the Charlotte Tilbury, and it also has a little more yellow in it than I would prefer. And Charlotte Tilbury is a good shade for me right now, but I can get away with the Reboot. And okay, now we have color out of the way. Let's talk about what this is. It is a skincare hybrid foundation with medium buildable coverage that effortlessly creates a natural looking skin-like glow. Coverage medium, I'm going to say it's pretty strong medium. It can get there. Finish radiant and formulation liquid. Highlighted ingredients, jojoba oil, intensely moisturizes and softens the skin. Hyaluronic acid hydrates and plumps the look of fine lines and wrinkles. This is what they're saying, it's not what I'm saying. Olive-derived squalene, known to balance oil production and diminish visible signs of aging. So squalene is a skin identical as is hyaluronic acid, and it's not really an oil, but it is, as I understand it, kind of identical to your sebum. And if you have oily skin and you put squalene on your face is no longer going to signal, make more oil, we're dry, we're parched. It signals instead, you're fine, you don't have to produce any more oil. So that's why it's oil balancing, but at the same time, it's not drying for drier skin types, which is tricky because a lot of things that are for oily skin are really not for dry skin at all. So this is all good stuff. Now let's get into the application. And I'm going to do this a little different this time, where usually I talk a lot during the application. I am going to talk a lot during this application, but I'm also going to come back and narrate. We'll see how it goes. I was hoping it make my editing a little bit easier. The first day I used my Innisfree sunscreen and applied with fingers without having read anything about this product at all. Always a good thing, you know, if you're into that research. I found that just the smidge I put on my forehead was enough to get me nice coverage, although I don't have a lot to cover on my forehead. And I kind of overdid it on the rest of the face. Not a big deal, I just kept on blending and blending and blending. Once I felt well blended, I found I wanted a little bit more on my cheeks, and I added just a little bit. The overall coverage was great. I liked the way I was able to get a little coverage on the forehead, more coverage on the lower face, and higher coverage right on the cheeks. And the skin looked beautiful no matter how much I used. My experience was I felt it was setting up quickly. And I'm going to give you a little spoiler. The sunscreen matters with this. I had slightly different experiences with each sunscreen that I used. For this sunscreen, I felt like it set up very, very quickly. It wasn't necessarily dry to the touch. It didn't feel like paper, but it felt like it was adhered and that it was ready to receive some other products. So I gave it some. On this day, I used powder products, and I did not powder my face first. There was no problem at all. There was not too much powder pigment transferring to the face. There also wasn't any skipping or bald spots or pooling. It worked absolutely beautiful. I was quite surprised because it had such a shiny look. It looked like it was still wet, but it didn't feel like it was still wet. Kind of like my face feels now. So today this is my last day, and I used a different sunscreen, and I've had this on for a solid 45 minutes, and just now I feel like it's getting that set feeling. So sunscreen matters. On the first day, it lasted all day long. I went for a hike, I got a little sweaty. I thought it looked beautiful, really youthful, glass skin-like. Again, this is my skincare probably, and my sunscreen probably, but the skin looked really, really, really fresh and nice. I did end up doing a little bit of powdering just to see how that would work out, and it worked out great. I did that off camera, so you're not going to be able to see that. But day one was really promising. I've had this on for about an hour and a half, and it's set. It doesn't feel like paper necessarily, you know, that set, but it just feels completely set. I had no issue at all with putting on powder products without powdering this down first, which is amazing. And I just did a little powder on my forehead because it was so shiny, but today it's quite humid. It's been raining, but it's not cold, and I did get a little sweaty from moving around, so I have a little bit sheen back, but I don't mind it at all. I feel that this is very, very, very pretty, and it has more coverage than some of my favorite things like the Reboot and the Givenchy Prism Libre. I love those, but I still see a lot of my redness and my dark spots and that kind of stuff when I have those on. This one gives me that beautiful, beautiful skin-like finish, but I feel that it perfects me a little bit more. And yeah, that is day one. The next day I used my Elastin sunscreen. this is a little bit thicker than what I used on the first day. I wanted to try the foundation with a brush, but I did have a sneaking feeling that this brush, which is a natural hair, combined with the elastin, which is a little thicker, and this foundation, which has some viscosity to it, even though it's called a serum, might not be a good match. And I was right. So I had some brush strokes up on the forehead, the nose was kind of a mess. Not a big deal, I just took a beauty blender and fixed that up. On this day I use cream products, so I use my new Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, which is, I guess, a cream powder hybrid. In other words, when you touch it, it doesn't feel like a powder. It feels like a cream, but it behaves like a powder. So you just put your brush in it, and you don't have to knock off because of the formula, but it just transfers to your skin like a powder rather than a cream. So the way you work it in is just like you work in a powder as opposed to a cream. But it was a cream product. So it was a cream day, I did that, and I also did the Westman Atelier Clos de Santé on my cheeks, which is so pretty. And there was no problem with creams at all. So one I used with the brush, one I used with the hand, no problem at all. Overall, I like the first day better because of the sunscreen, really. But I think it's only something someone who has an 8x mirror or 10x mirror is going to see. I don't think anybody on the street would be thinking, there's a problem here. So what do I think overall? Today I use my Make Creme, which is the lightest of everything I used. It's a bit more moisturizing, but moisturizing, hydrating. So it's not like you're adding a thickness to your skin. You feel like it's getting water into your skin and plumping everything up. And this does take a little while to dry down. Today, it's just now that I'm feeling like, oh, finally, it's dried down. But after I put on my foundation, I didn't feel like I had to wait or I had to powder. It's just to the hand, to my fingers, it's now feeling dry down. Now for this application, I did use a beauty blender. Not my favorite application. I really prefer the fingers. And then if I feel I need a little help, I'll go in with the beauty blender to blend it. I don't like to apply. So I put some on my hand, picked that up with the beauty blender and kind of dotted around a little bit. And this is what that looked like. Only out. We had a week of just cloudy. It even rained one night, and I love that kind of weather. But hard to shoot because you don't get an accurate idea of what the color is. And I'm looking at my monitor right here. It looks really accurate. So you can see there is a yellow undertone, even though this is supposed to be a neutral color. And this is scented, but I really kind of like the scent. So I still have plenty left, but it is drying down. So let me just kind of... Okay, so color-wise, I'm thinking this is lighter than I thought it was. Today I used cream blush and I used a powder bronzer, and both went on beautifully. Let's get into that. And now I'm going to go on with the bronzer. This is the Guerlain Terracotta in 01, no, 00. Well, I'll list it down below. And I haven't powdered the face, but I don't feel like this is loosey-goosey. It's certainly shiny, but it feels set to me. I do feel like maybe that wasn't a great thing to do. Like maybe I should have powdered first because I feel like I got a lot. So I'm going to just go over with the Beauty Blender. It's fine everywhere else, but on the forehead it's like a little much perhaps. It's also actually worth noting that this is the first time I've used this brush with this bronzer. I usually use this brush, which is Squirrel, much softer. So let's go back to this brush, what I usually do. Much better. So that was kind of an unfair test. Okay, so the powder went on fine, with both brushes, but I got a lot more pigmentation than I was hoping to get with this brush, but it is a goat, and I haven't used that brush with this before. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm having any issues. There's no skipping around. Everything just looks luscious. I think it looked the same no matter how I applied it. It's just a matter of what your favorite way to apply it is, I think. I got the same kind of coverage. I was still able to build. Everything I was able to do on day 1, I was able to do on day 3 with the Beauty Blender. Again, I really can't speak for the brush since I used it with the Elastin, but brushes are just not my game. As you can see, everything applied well. I didn't have a problem with application with any of the sunscreens and with any of the products, be them cream, liquid, cream to powder, and powder. Everything was great. Every single day I got good wear. It didn't break up. It also wasn't hot. And I did sweat. I took Lucy out for hikes on both days, and it just was fine. It did fade evenly throughout the day, but it wasn't like areas of my skin were naked. Of course, that doesn't actually happen to me, so that's just me. What do I think overall? I feel that this is a very, 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 very pretty foundation. I did a little powder today on the forehead with my By Terry, not enough to mattify me, but just to kind of chill this out a little bit. I did powder yesterday with my sunscreen. So before I took Lucy out, I put that sunscreen powder on, and I don't think this looks really good with a lot of powder. And I gotta tell you something, you guys. The Supergoop powder, when I put that on in the afternoons, this time of year, I will start doing that whenever I go out with Lucy. It's really pretty. I know it's a sunscreen and people would think it doesn't really do anything for your skin, but I find that my skin looks very pretty with that Supergoop powder. I didn't like it so much with that much powder, but again, this is a radiant finish, and if you want something matte, you should buy something matte. When I just use a little powder, I think it's really pretty. It's very comfortable. It wears for a long time on my skin, although it is not said to be long wear, and it is not saying that it is transfer proof. Let's go back to their claims. Coverage medium, I'd say medium to strong medium. Radiant finish, yes. Comfortable, effortless, creates a natural looking skin-like glow. Yes, it's really, really beautiful. The color, however, for me is a problem. It is too light. When I put my hand like this, you can really see because it's not reflecting the light off of it because they're wet. It's a little too light, it's a little too yellow for me. Otherwise, this would be something that I would probably get when I'm done with this. But as it is, I'll probably buy this again when I'm done with this. And it reminds me a lot of that. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin, which I like very, very much. It's been a really good year for foundations so far, and my biggest issues are things that have a lot of alcohol in them, which this does not, or things that just don't have enough colors or don't have the right color for me. But it's been a pretty darn good year for foundation, and this is one of them. If you can find a shade that looks good on you, and you're looking for something a little radiant, for instance, if you couldn't find a shade in the Charlotte Tilbury, you might want to try this one. This is very comfortable, and unlike the Charlotte Tilbury, it does eventually feel a little bit more dried down than the Charlotte Tilbury, which I don't find uncomfortable at all. But if you found that it was a little bit wet for you, I think the ghost is here, then you might want to try the Danessa Myricks. And you guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health.